All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I'm sitting here watching Undisputed. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, they're out for the week. They're having the scrubs, Rob Parker and Chris X, a.k.a. Chris Broussard, and Greg Jennings. And the moderator is Jamie Maggio. And they happen to have on as a guest the former lightweight world champion in the early 80s, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And for those of you who don't know who Ray Boom Boom Mancini was, he was pretty much the Arturo Gatti of his day. He was the Italian fighter that the boxing world was trying to build up as a counterbalance to many of the prominent black and Hispanic fighters in the lower weight classes back in the early 80s. Fighters like Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, of course, everybody knows about, Wilfredo Benitez, so on and so forth. Those fighters always have to be counterbalanced by a very good Caucasian fighter that, they can just push. And Ray Boom Boom Mancini was the fighter in that era. I'm not trying to denigrate him or marginalize him in any way. He was entertaining, even though he was very flat-footed. But what he's most known for is a classic match that occurred, I believe, in 1982 between himself and Doo Koo Kim, who was a challenger for his title, who happened to be from South Korea. They fought for 14 rounds. Ray Boom Boom Mancini was able to stop him in the 14th round on a TKO. Doo Koo Kim collapsed after the 14th round, went into a coma for 3 or 4 days, and passed away. And in the aftermath of that, Ray Boom Boom Mancini went through a period of depression in his life. Doo Koo Kim's mother killed herself, and then the referee for that fight killed himself. So that event changed the whole boxing world, because prior to that, championship fights were always 15 rounds. That's when they took it from 15 rounds to 12 rounds. Well, he's in studio to publicize the fight that Leo Santa Cruz is having on PBC, or for PBC, which is broadcast on Fox Sports 1 and Fox affiliates. And he's also there to help build up the Errol Spence fight against Mikey Garcia. Well, they ask him about Floyd Mayweather. And of course, he's going to go into many of the generic, silly criticisms of Floyd. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
You were below, the divisions below them, but you had Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran.
Right.
How do you rank Floyd with those guys?
Okay, let me clarify this. Special talent. There's no dispute. Special talent. The greatest of the 12-round era. The 12-round era. All time, top 30, 40. Look.
That's a hater. Hater in the house. So you're telling me that Floyd Mayweather is the greatest fighter of the 12-round era. So when he says 12-round era, he's basically talking the last 35 years. But all time, he barely cracks the top 40. And this is something that goes on a lot in the sports world in evaluations. It's something that I call black and white bias. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about skin color. I'm talking about the broadcast of the fight or the broadcast of the event. People have a tendency to overrate things from the past because it was broadcast in black and white. So what they'll do is they'll tell you that a fighter like Willie Pep or Nicolino Loesch was a greater fighter than Floyd Mayweather just because the films were in black and white. They'll tell you that Ray Robinson was greater than Ray Leonard, in my view, just because the film was in black and white. Ray Robinson was tremendous. Maybe he was better than Ray Leonard. But I guarantee you, if they got in the ring together, it's gonna go 15 rounds. And you're not going to be quite sure who won at the end. My point being is this: when we're going to evaluate who's who and what they did, we have to go by skill set. We have to go by skill set, competition, resume, accomplishments, and how did you transform the sport. And when we do those things, Floyd Mayweather is not going to be in the top 40. He's going to be in the top 10 at the very least. Even if you despise him, he has to be at the very lowest in the top 10. And in my view, I've already stated, Floyd Mayweather is the greatest fighter that I've ever seen, all around. When we talk about what he's done outside of the ring, what he can do in the ring. The only thing that Floyd Mayweather is not a 10 out of 10 on is one-punch knockout power. That's it.
Look, I can only go by my era. Top 4. You just said Ray, Tommy, Roberto, and Benitez. Not Marvin, because Marvin's Benitez. Okay. And even Charlie,
so you
Carlos
go
Palomino.
for Benitez.
Now, did you hear what this fool just said? Ray Mancini said even Carlos Palomino. And a lot of NBA fans will do this when they talk about the great players today. They say, well, back in the 80s, Steph Curry couldn't even play back in the 80s. LeBron couldn't even play back in the 80s. See, when you start saying dumb shit like that, all you're doing is you're portraying and you're conveying your generational bias. And when you have a generational bias, you can't be trusted in a debate because you're leading with your emotions. Carlos Palomino would not beat Floyd Mayweather. For those of you who don't know, Carlos Palomino was a welterweight champion in the late 1970s. He was a very good fighter. I believe that he lost to Duran before Duran fought Ray Leonard. But just pay very close attention to what Mancini did, because this is something that many Floyd Mayweather critics will do, and they don't quite understand what they're doing. They'll say that Ray Leonard is better than Floyd. They'll say that Tommy Hearns is better than Floyd. When they say better, meaning that they would beat him in the ring. But we have to understand what should be what are the confinements of this evaluation. Do you understand how much you're complimenting Floyd Mayweather by mentioning him with Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns? And I'm not saying that you're complimenting him because those fighters are greater than him. I'm saying that you're complimenting Floyd when you're making an assessment of a hypothetical fight between himself and those fighters, because Floyd is a natural 130-pound fighter. Tommy Hearns started at 147. Ray Leonard started at 147. Floyd Mayweather is the only fighter that when they create these hypothetical scenarios, they will take his highest weight class, which is welterweight, and compare him to fighters who started off at welterweight. Ray Leonard's best weight class was 147. Tommy Hearns' best weight class was 147. Floyd Mayweather's best weight class was 130. And when I say best, I mean that's where he was at his purest. I thought that he had his best performances at 140, but the sample size is too small. Point being is this: Floyd Mayweather should be compared, if we're going to create these hypothetical fight scenarios, with other great lightweights, not other great welterweights. So when you start to compare him to other great welterweights, you're giving him a great compliment. Because when we think of the greatest super middleweights of all time, we don't mention Ray Leonard. We don't say that. When we think of Ray Leonard, we think of him at welterweight. When we mention Tommy Hearns, we don't talk about, the greatest cruiserweights of all time or the greatest light heavyweights of all time. We talk about him mostly at welterweight, maybe junior middleweight into middleweight. So once again, when we start to talk about Floyd Mayweather, people compliment him without even knowing it.
Stands ahead of Marvin Hagler.
Well, Marvin's middleweight. Floyd ain't moving up that. He wasn't moving up. Them guys.
Nor should he. And Marvin Hagler never moved up anywhere. He never moved up anywhere. Marvin Hagler never left middleweight. But they hold Floyd Mayweather to these standards that they don't hold these other fighters to. Let me rewind this back just a little bit.
Guys that he ate this. Okay. And even Charlie,
so you go Wilfred Benitez ahead of Marvin Hagler?
Well, Marvin's middleweight. Floyd ain't moving up that. He wasn't moving up. Them guys that he ate. So let's go this. Tommy would have stretched him. There's no dispute.
Well, he talking about Tommy Hearns would have stretched him. Well, I would hope so. Tommy Hearns had an 81-inch reach, and he was a natural 147-pounder.
You do that shoulder roll at Tommy. Tommy's going to knock the wall down with that right hand. He's stretching it. Duran would have roughed him up. Duran would have done. Duran could do things that exactly the first fight.
Yeah, the first fight where Ray Leonard fought like an idiot because he was emotional. Roberto Duran would not be Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather would not fall prey to Duran's tactics to make it a brawl. He would outbox him. And Roberto Duran was a great boxer, but whenever he got in the ring with truly great boxers, non-pareil boxers like Benitez or Leonard in the second fight, he would get frustrated and he would quit. Roberto Duran would quit if you frustrated him.
Duran could do things that Floyd wasn't never seen.
Sure.
Benitez would have had him talking to himself. Now, I'm not saying Benitez would have beat him, because I'm not sure he threw enough volume of punches. But he would have had him talking to himself, because you couldn't hit him. Talk about defense. He was one of the greatest defensive fighters. The heart.
All Floyd would have done was Floyd would have went to his body. Benitez was phenomenal. But once again, Benitez was a fighter who was pushed into boxing at a very young age. I believe that he may still be the youngest fighter to ever win a title at welterweight. I think he won it at 18 years old or 17 years old. He was a wonderkin, and he squared off against Ray Leonard, I believe, in Montreal. And I think that Marvin Hagler was on the undercard of that fight. And that is when Ray Leonard came into prominence, when he beat Benitez. But Benitez could be beat. The thing with Benitez was that, you know, he could frustrate you if you were somebody who was very impatient like a Duran. But when Benitez, you know, when he got under those lights against great fighters, he lost to Hearns and he lost to Leonard. So Floyd would beat him.
Hardest fight and the closest would have been him and Ray, because talent-wise, they're so close in talent and height-wise and all that. The difference is he could have never beaten Ray because Ray was a closer.
Right.
Ray wanted to embarrass you. Ray wanted to annihilate you. He didn't want you to finish on your feet.
Once again, you're comparing a natural 130-pounder to a natural 147-pounder. Everything that he's saying about Ray Leonard is true. Ray Leonard was very aggressive. He was a great closer. He was a very good boxer. His defense was, you know, was above average. It was nowhere near Floyd Mayweather's level of defense. But again, these people don't understand. They're complimenting Floyd Mayweather because they're comparing a natural 130-pounder to a natural 147-pound fighter. That's what they're doing. I would have loved to have seen Floyd Mayweather against Ray Leonard. But Ray Leonard, you know, when we think of Ray Leonard as a fighter, we're thinking about him at welterweight at 23, 24, 25 years old. When we think about Floyd Mayweather, a lot of his great fights he had in his early 30s. Because many people outside of the boxing cognoscenti or the boxing fans or followers, we knew about him. But the world at large did not really know who Floyd Mayweather was until the De La Hoya fight. And in the De La Hoya fight, he was 30 years old.
He was a closer. Floyd will slap you around for 12 rounds, but he ain't closing the show.
But let me ask you, that style of being a defensive fighter, it's worked for Floyd, but is it good for the boxing fan to watch?
No. And you know,
let me stop it real quick because that's just Mancini's hate coming out. He's saying that it's not good for the boxing fans. How could Floyd Mayweather's style have not been good for the boxing fans when he had the highest pay-per-views in the history of boxing? So that means that people were watching him. He drew people to boxing. Boxing has fallen off since Floyd Mayweather left. To be quite frank with you, the pay-per-view model is pretty much dead now since Mayweather has been gone. Mayweather's the first fighter to consistently expect 1.5 to 2 million views, or 2 million buys, I should say, in pay-per-view. Now you have Mike Tyson, of course, in the mid-90s. But even Mike Tyson never matched the numbers that Floyd Mayweather was able to put up consistently. So this notion that Floyd Mayweather hurt the sport with his style of fighting, that's something that is concocted out of thin air by people who just don't like him. When it comes to boxing, you have people who like to watch chess, you have people who like to watch checkers. Sometimes you have people who like to watch both. But when you view Mayweather, you understand that what he does, he's non-pareil at. And he could box you or he could fight you. And there are many boxing matches that he's had where he brawled with his opponent. He walked down Shane Mosley. He walked down Victor Ortiz before Victor Ortiz tried to cheat. He walked down Miguel Cotto. That was a war. He stayed in the pocket against Canelo. He stayed in the pocket against Marcos Maidana. That was a brawl. That Marcos Maidana fight, that was dangerous, especially the first round. It's a good thing that Mayweather and Leonard Ellerbe caught those gloves that Maidana was trying to use, because Mayweather was determined to brawl with Maidana in that first fight, and had Maidana been allowed to use those gloves, he may have gotten stopped in the first round. Who the hell knows?
You know, Rob, early in his career, I was a big fan of Floyd. He was beating guys he had no business being in the ring in. He was going in on his 12th, 13th fight. He was in there with guys he had no business being in with because they're experienced.
Yeah, he's talking about Chiquinito Hernandez, which is one of my favorite Floyd performances. I think that Floyd won his first title, I think within 18 fights or something like that. He was 21 years old. But this is something that we'll see a lot. People will say, I used to be a fan of this person back in the day. What they really mean is that you liked him before he started making a lot of money, because when the money came in, you got jealous. It'd be one thing if Mayweather started making money and he was fighting all bums. He's fought the most world champions of any fighter in history. You don't have to like it or believe it. No, there's something called narrative and there's something called the truth. Go look up Ray Robinson's box rec and go see how many bums he fought. Go look at Willie Pep's box rec and look at how many bums he fought. I'm not saying that they're not all-time greats, because they are. But the way that fighters were allowed to pick their opponents back in the 40s and 50s, you could never do that today. So when we talk about people's resumes, Floyd Mayweather has one of the great resumes in the history of fighting. People might not like that, but it is the truth.
And he wasn't just beating them, he was annihilating them, just embarrassing them. But at some point along the way, he became that defensive fighter and stopped.
Yes, it's called growth. It's called wisdom in the ring. It's called you can't exchange every fight or you're going to end up like Muhammad Ali.
Stop being fan-friendly and, you know, stinking out the joint, basically. So
he quote-unquote stunk out the joint, but he's the greatest pay-per-view fighter of all time. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, well, I know he had bad hands and things like that. We understand.
Okay, so if you know that he had bad hands, why would you expect him to have a brawl every fight? What you're saying makes no sense, Ray. You sound like a hater.
We understand that. But you can't, you know, you still got an obligation to the fans. It's still entertainment, you know.
You're really just mad that he never lost. Let's get to the point, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. You're upset that he never lost.
You know, it's called show business for a reason. Business comes on before the show. You got to close the show.
So when it comes to boxers and their mentality, obviously they want to be on that center stage, that main event.
Sure.
But when you talk about showmanship, punches with bunches, is that on top of their mind? Is that top of mind going into a bout?
I don't think. Well, I think the idea to win. How do you win?
He can't even answer the question because basically what Greg Jennings is asking him is, does a fighter approach every fight the same way? And if you're a basic fighter like Ray Boom Boom Mancini, yes, you do. If you're Floyd Mayweather, no, you don't, because there's so many tools in your toolbox. And that's what people have to understand. What great teams do, what great competitors do, is they find a way to win. Like the Patriots. They can beat you by a shootout or they can beat you in a low-scoring game. If you come out every game trying to play the same way against different opponents, you're going to lose. That's why Ray Boom Boom Mancini is who he is, and that's why Floyd Mayweather is who he is. And the interesting thing is that Ray Boom Boom Mancini's whole point is that Floyd Mayweather hurt boxing because of how he fought. But Ray Boom Boom Mancini works for PBC. PBC is Al Heyman's company. Al Heyman built his boxing company off the back of Floyd Mayweather's performances, because Al Heyman became famous due to the fact that Floyd Mayweather would shout him out after every fight. So other fighters came to join Al Heyman. His company got so big that he's been able to hire broadcasters like Ray Boom Boom Mancini. So once again, there's another case of a person biting the hand that has fed him.
You know, Floyd's not a volume puncher anyway. You know, his thing is being a slick fighter, box will pick you apart.
Floyd's thing is to win. That's his thing.
That's fine too. You know, Manny was like that early in his career and still, but he would close the show. That's all you want. At the end of the day, Greg, I want to see a guy, you know, I want to see an entertaining fight, whether it's a knockout or just a close decision, but I want to see guys throwing punches. I would like to see going toe-to-toe action at some point. You see, he's just moving and he's...
Once again, Mayweather went toe-to-toe against Cotto. He went toe-to-toe against Ortiz. He went toe-to-toe against Mosley. He went toe-to-toe against Canelo. I remember before the Canelo fight, Floyd Mayweather fans were scared that Floyd would decide to fight Canelo. I remember the first promo picture of Floyd Mayweather and Canelo squaring off. And they purposefully framed it to where Canelo looked like he was about 3 inches taller than Floyd and looked way bigger than Floyd. And, you know, Floyd got in the ring and schooled him, of course. Floyd also, as I stated, fought toe-to-toe against Marcos Maidana, who's one of the most feared sluggers in the weight class at the time. So this notion that all Floyd does is run is nonsense. Floyd walked down Zab Judah. He walked down Ricky Hatton. You know, his career has always shown that Floyd will fight how he needs to fight. He had a brawl against Philip Endo. He had a brawl against DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley.
It was a Belladere going around each other. It's great aesthetically. It's not pleasing, but you say
not pleasing to you because you're a Cro-Magnon.
You say, well, that's a special talent. But you got to throw punches. Don't like this is the one sport you cannot win a title on defense.
No, not really. Actually, you can't win a title on defense. You know, somebody should ask him. You know, they say that Willie Pep went around without throwing a punch. I bet you he would say something different because Willie Pep is Italian. So then he'd say, hey, that's my paisan. You know, bada bing, bada boom. Willie Pep, now that's the real defensive fighter. Yeah, bada bing, bada boom. Forget about it, no doubt about it.
You hit the bottom line in boxing, hit the other man more than hit you. That's the bottom line, and that's offense.
Let me ask you about Pacquiao. Like, not the Pacquiao we see now, not the one we saw against Floyd, but, you know, when he was in his prime, 07, 08, 06, whatever, how does he...
Pacquiao was in his prime in 08 and 09. That's when all of a sudden his forehead got real big. Motherfucker forehead looked like a battering ram.
How does he stack up against the greats of your era in that way?
Well, Manny's a special fighter again, guy who moves up in weight classes. But let's start first.
Manny's about top 15, top 20.
Stop for a second. You know what they were talking about him and Floyd back then? It was 2009. And I said, Manny was going through mowing down everybody. I said,
He wasn't mowing down everybody. What Manny was doing, he was mowing down Floyd's leftovers. And it was a very, very, very intelligently designed publicity campaign by Bob Arum. He saw that Floyd Mayweather was no longer in the sport, so he decided that he was going to build up Manny by having him fight Floyd's leftovers. For whatever reason, they were able to get Oscar De La Hoya to agree to come down to a weight that he had not fought at in 9 years. That was a big publicity stunt and a sham of a fight. And Pacquiao was able to defeat De La Hoya. And then they were able to knock out a broken Ricky Hatton, a Ricky Hatton who'd become an alcoholic and a drug addict after Floyd Mayweather beat him. That's what happened. And they built up Pacquiao from there. They got Pacquiao to fight Joshua Clottey. And that's easily one of the most farcical fights, one of the most blatantly thrown fights of the last 15 years, the Manny Pacquiao versus Joshua Clottey fight. It's very obvious that Clottey threw that fight. The one fight that I give Pacquiao credit for, to a degree, was his performance against Cotto. Because Cotto was trying to win, even though he was drained. Because at that time, they were making all of Pacquiao's opponents fight according to a rehydration clause, and they had to fight Manny at a catch weight. But I give Pacquiao credit. That fight was phenomenal. That was by far the best performance of his career.
Beat Floyd then. I said, what? Because Floyd's bigger, faster, stronger. And that's all you got to be in boxing. Is bigger, faster, stronger.
So says the Cro-Magnon man, because you watch sports like a caveman does. All you have to do is be bigger, faster, stronger. No, you have to be smarter as well. If you're not smarter, you're going to run into somebody that you're going to lose to. That's why Ali was able to defeat Foreman and Liston, because he was smarter than them.
Man, he's fast, not faster than Floyd. Strong, not stronger than Floyd. He wasn't going to beat him then, but they waited 5 years, which really, and then it was such a stink fest. It was that you go.
Look, I say this all the time. People complain about the Pacquiao versus Mayweather fight. They claim that it was so boring. You know who you can blame for why that fight was boring? Blame yourself. Because for years, all Mayweather heard was that Pacquiao was going to beat him. And that if he took any chances, and he realized that if he took any chances in that fight and tried to engage in a slugfest, that would be him giving Pacquiao the only chance that he had. And he knew that the judges and the fans will be looking for Pacquiao to be the man to defeat him. So he fought a safety first fight in that fight to make sure that he won the fight. And he fought smart like he normally does, like how he's supposed to. Every once in a while, Floyd will lower his level of boxing, to appease the fans. Walk down his opponent, so on and so forth. But once again, when people talk about how boring that fight was, blame yourself. Because the media and the fans helped Mayweather understand that if he fought in an action style, in a fan-pleasing style, they were going to rob him. And the reason why the fight didn't happen in 2009 is because Manny Pacquiao claimed that he was scared of needles back then. So he did not want to take a blood test. So that's why that fight didn't happen in 2009. Mayweather actually was ready to split the overall purse 50-50 with Pacquiao. And after that, after the negotiations broke down, he said, you will never get 50% again. And it ended up working out better for both combatants because they made way more money than they would have made had they fought in 2009.
It was a cure for insomnia. So why would you, now they're talking about possibly doing it again. Are you kidding me? Why? Nobody wants it. I wouldn't walk across the street to see that. Nobody wants to see it.
Bet money if they fight again, that fight does at least 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Maybe even 2 mil.
See it? So stop talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody.
Ray, how good is it that boxing?
Ray Mancini gonna go home. He gonna find a pink slip on his desk. It's gonna be signed Al and Floyd.
Boxing is back on free TV as we move forward. When we were kids, I watched Muhammad Ali fight on ABC, Wide World of Sports on a Saturday afternoon, and then it went to all pay-per-view. A lot of kids have grown up not watching boxing.
Well, PBC, what they've done is so significant. It's significant for boxing. Because first, it brings it on free network television. Oh, man, we're great. We're back in that again. Now they're going to make stars of these guys. Now people are going to maybe heard the names before, but now they're going to know the faces. Right. A guy like Leo Santa Cruz is going to be a star. Which is what CBS did with me and guys of my era. 1981, CBS gets in the game. What they do? They want to showcase their lightweights. Oh, man, I hit the juggernaut. You know what I mean? Right. The winning division with the lightweights. And that's what made myself, Hector Camacho, Aaron Pryor, Alexis Arguello, all the lighter weights. Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, even though they...
Yeah, all them guys that was whooping your ass. Alexis Arguello beat the shit out of you.
Even though they were were stars doing pay-per-view already. They were still seen on network television. But CBS, then NBC comes in with Tomorrow's Champions after 1980 Olympics when we didn't go to the Olympics. So they showcase all of those guys. So this network television is imperative.
If I remember correctly, that title, Tomorrow's Champions, that was actually based off of a boxing show from Louisville, Kentucky, where Cassius Clay used to fight when he was a kid. Of course, Cassius Clay became known as Muhammad Ali. But I think that he fought on a show called Tomorrow's Champions back in the 1950s.
To have boxing, to get boxing back to what it once was. And with PBC on Fox is doing it, man. I can't tell you how much I'm excited I am. It's important to boxing, yes. And boxing will overtake UFC and everything, absolutely. Boxing, traditionally, it's been the sport of the poor.
Absolutely.
Right? Traditionally, from the 20s, the 30s to now, the impoverished. UFC is basically, white suburban boys sport down there in the beach towns, Storm, and LA. So
I'm happy he said that.
I mean, great talents, great special fighters, but boxing now is back on free network television. It's going to explode again.
Quick question: as an all-time great boxer, were you bothered by the McGregor-Mayweather fight just because?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Here's what I'm bothered. Not about that McGregor wanted to fight him. I admire that the guy wants challenge. And he calls out the greatest fighter over the last 20 years. Oh, yeah. Never the fact that the guy never fought a lick, never fought a boxing. Okay, here's what I have the problem with. The Nevada Commission. Nevada Commission, I'm supposed to fight you, but now all of a sudden I may have something in my urine that I took through a supplement that I didn't think would hurt me. And
Bullshit. You're a roid head. Spoken like a roid head. You probably was on some shit. That's why you trying to defend that Ray Boom Boom Mancini. But I agree with you about the MMA stuff. I'm happy he's the one who said that, and I've said that in the past. UFC, that was created for white boys to feel masculine again. That's why they created UFC.
And they're not going to allow me to fight you now. But yet, a guy who never had, and it's supposed to be about protecting fighters and about the betterment of boxing, yet a guy who never had one professional fight his whole life is fighting the best fighter over the last 20 years.
That would have never happened.
That's not entirely true. He's had professional fights, not just professional boxing matches. So, I mean, let's be for real. Let's pump the brakes.
Come on, man, stop. They make the rules up as they go along. They're hypocrites, man. You know what? They know it. Everyone knows that. It was a
Of course, it's a money grab. They're going to make exceptions when they have a chance to make $500 million in one night.
It was a money grab, and by all accounts, they did what they're supposed to do, but they're hypocrites. If that's going to happen, if a guy says, hey, man, I didn't know, I'm training my butt off for this guy, and all of a sudden I get something in my urine, I didn't know what happened.
Sure you don't. Bullshit. You're responsible for what you put in your body. Knock it off.
That's not going to help him win the fight. You can fight or you can't. You can take a shot or you can't take a shot. Stop.
Roid heads always say that shit. Oh, steroids don't make you a better fighter, so why the fuck you taking them then? They're helping you with something. All right? People come on the air, they always say that same dumb shit. The LeBron James fanboys say that, oh, LeBron, even if he take PEDs, it's not going to make him better. So then why the hell are you taking it? It's helping him with something, right? Allegedly. Anybody that's going to pop a pill, they popping a pill for a reason. If you're going to get a syringe in your ass, you're getting that syringe for a reason. It's helping you with something.
Boxing's getting a little ridiculous now with the rules, man.
I'll tell you what, I tuned in for the McGregor-Mayweather. So.
You didn't drink the Kool-Aid, though, did you? You didn't drink the Kool-Aid, did you? Oh, my God. I'm exhausted over here, man.
Bada bing, bada boom.
All right, guys, don't forget, don't miss the Errol Spence Jr. Mikey Garcia press conference at 4:30 Eastern on Fox. That's followed by BBC Fight Night at 8 Eastern. Ray, thank you so much for coming in.
That's it? No more? They're sending me away. They're sending me away.
No more for you, Ray. You take your ass back to the Sopranos.
We're talking
about LeBron.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. I just thought that this interview was very interesting. Ray Boom Boom Mancini, very entertaining, but he better watch what he says, because I don't think he realizes that Floyd helps write his damn checks. So peace.